Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Often Wrong. Today, we're going to get into pretty language, empty reposts, the fear of being wrong, and how all of that is actually helping slow us down more than helping the cause. So it's time to stop sounding like politicians, make politicians sound like us. Justice is supposed to be for us, not the algorithm. So let's get into how. Hey listeners, thank you so much for joining us again for this episode of Often Wrong. If you are enjoying how this season is rolling out, you can engage further by liking, subscribing, leaving a comment on wherever you listen to your podcast or on our website at carrotimpact.com/oftenwrong. From all of us at Often Wrong, thank you so much, and let's get back into the show.
Well, hi everybody. Welcome back to Often Wrong.
Yeah. I'm pumped. I've been talking about this episode the whole time. This is like one of my rants. I feel like I bring it to you all the time. So yeah, here we go.
I'm so excited.
We are here to talk about how we talk about social justice. Because honestly, for me, I think a lot of us are doing it wrong. And don't get me wrong, I'm thrilled that everyone is engaged and that people want to say some things online or in person. But it's starting to piss me off a little bit. So with all that said, welcome back to Often Wrong. We're going to get into it as we always do and share our hot takes. And I want to hear what you all think as well.
Yes, always. We're coming in hot with this one. And yeah, we are definitely often wrong about how we talk about social justice, especially online. So I'm very excited to get into it. Yeah.
Okay, so for me, honestly, I think along the way, somehow, actually this makes sense because I feel like in like 2019, especially in New York City, the big conversation was about like personal branding. And then we had 2020 where everyone started to get involved in like Black Lives Matter and people started protesting. So I think those two things conflated. And social justice started to become like this mix of like branding, academic language, Olympics, and repost culture. And I hate that. So I feel like half of us now are too afraid to say anything real because we don't want to sound wrong or too woke or not woke enough, or like we didn't all major in sociology, which we didn't because that's not the most lucrative field. So here we are now with the internet.
Yeah.
And it sucks. We should fix it.
It really does. And I think that fear that we see on all sides is very real. People are like proofreading their captions, like checking themselves, but more often than not, it's just they don't engage in the conversation or they engage in it in a performative way. They're just resharing something over and over. Like, it's not a thoughtful, involvement with the subject matter at all. It's just, how is this being perceived? Which only thinking about that is not the right approach.
No.
I know.
Because for me, I feel like social justice and justice period is supposed to be for us. And the only people who can decide what justice is also us, real people. So so I really want to get into today, like why using vague or safe language, like for example, like underserved or marginalized might actually be watering down the issue and taking us further away from the goal that we all want to reach. And oh my God, don't even get me started on the term BIPOC. I hate it. I've hated it from the second I heard it. And I can be more nuanced about this, but for now. I want to talk about like why regurgitating activist sound bites without adding your own voice to it can just help you not build anything except your own social media platform. And why being afraid to mess up is keeping too many of us quiet when what we need right now is voices and loud voices, even if they're messy, even if they're wrong. Because it's like we have the government right now and they are definitely wrong constantly and they don't care. They're not that worried about it. So why are you? You only have 92 followers. Like, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. Relax. It's okay.
Seriously.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I feel like that was a great intro to the topic. Should we say any more about, I don't know, just kind of the genesis of this? I know you pointed to 2020, but do you think there's anything else worth pointing out here before we get into it?
I think those two things, like, this personal branding thing that was happening in 2019 that I fell into too, and that was really hard for me, where you had to like come up with a headline about yourself and like, how do you talk about yourself on LinkedIn? And I think that really bled into like the activism of 2020. And if I know anything to be true in this world, this, you can quote me, I'm not wrong about this. Do not use LinkedIn as your guiding light on how you should communicate with people. You shouldn't communicate like that. That's weird. I don't know how everyone learned how to do that on LinkedIn.
I
But
know.
I just feel like that happened. And then also we just had like this huge surge in like influencer culture, which is cool. I like influencers. They're fun. You learn a lot of stuff about like little things you should get for your home and like how to do a morning routine.
Yeah.
But I think because of that, people started approaching their social media like it needed to be like polished and perfect, and that their take needed to be exactly right with no holes in it. And most people, I think, don't know enough to do that. They're the way their brains and their lives are set up, they don't have like hot takes that they think that they're valid enough to share, but they're all valid. We
Mm-hmm.
need people to engage. I don't care if you're wrong. Like, let's actually talk
Yeah.
about it. I think it's on both sides too. I feel like
Yeah.
you'll see things with like, right wing MAGA people where they kind of repeat the same stuff over and over again. And then Democrats do the same thing over and over again. And it's like, we're not even having a conversation. We're just soundbiting each other.
Yeah.
And it really moves us further away from each other.
Yes.
And yeah, this is one thing I posted on my social media right after the election where I said, stop talking like politicians and make them talk like us because
Mm-hmm.
they work for us. This is crazy. Like, why are we trying to say like all of these like things and sound smart? You are smart,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
If you're
And
listening
this
to
is
this podcast,
about the
you're very smart.
people. This is about the people. Yes, there are
Exactly.
certain things that are very complex and require advanced degrees to fully understand or to engage with, but like we have said this before, you will always be an expert at how something affects you. So like
Yes. Literally,
we
no
can
one
talk
else will
about it.
be.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can tell me how
And
it feels and what you want and what you don't like.
I think before we get into this too, I want to even just pause on the term social justice because I feel like even though I have worked in I took a class in high school, intro to social justice actually.
Ooh,
And at the
that's nice.
time it was great. At the time at one of our nuns at the school taught it. I'll out myself now. I went to Catholic all girls school for high school.
That's
But
why you're
yeah,
bi.
our nun, exactly. Um, one of our nuns who was like super cool. She didn't wear a habit or anything.
Mm.
God, what was her name? Sister or something. And she was getting her PhD. She was dope. And she, yeah, sister someone who I can't remember, taught this class and it was great. And the term wasn't charged for me at all at the time. This was probably like 2013, 2014, maybe. And now I feel like anytime social justice comes up, it's again immediately relegated to like, well, this is for the people on the left. This is
Yeah,
only for the people on the left. And,
totally.
it's, there's so many elements of what we've talked about this season in here. There's elements of cancel culture, siloing, but especially that like, this is only, and binaries, I'll also add, and then the two-party system, like this is only for people on the left. And
Hmm.
that's just not true. When we talk about social justice, we mean justice in social contexts, which
Yes.
is everything. So we can talk about economic justice, we can talk about racial justice, we can talk about a lot of different types of justice, but social justice is like one of the ways everything kind of collects under it. That's my understanding,
Hmm.
at least. Do you have anything to add to that
I'm so
terminology?
glad you brought this up. I don't think I've ever really thought about it because I also have worked in social justice my whole adult life.
Yeah.
And it just feels like a natural phrase to me. I don't really unpack it. But now that
Yeah.
you say that, I think social justice to me, when I think about social justice, when I think about my politics, my things are all that everyone deserves a home. People deserve to live freely without violence. So when I'm talking about social justice, it's for everybody, even if I don't like you. It is everything that involves like us relating to each other and how we
Yep.
demand what the future looks like, because that's separate from the justice system, which is separate from
Hmm.
us, which is
Yeah.
like placed top down on us. And social justice is more about us deciding what that is.
Yes. Oh, well said. I think that's a great delineator. Just, the social justice starts with us. It doesn't and obviously there are intertwined elements in the, legal system. But
Yeah,
if you just say justice, that could look like so many different things. But
totally.
social justice is a more specific thing. And it's like all power to all the people. That's what
Yes.
I think of.
Social
And
justice is all power to all the people. Absolutely
yes,
agreed.
yeah, yeah.
And that's
So
why this conversation is so important.
I'm so excited to get into this. I think it's a really rich topic. And yeah, I think without further ado, we should just go right ahead.
Hell yeah. The political correctness trap, like we just said, I've worked in social justice for my entire career. This comes up all of the time and it's getting louder and more annoying as time goes on. And I have a take on this and I really want people to engage with it because I'm happy to be wrong if I'm wrong about this, but for me, I feel strongly about it. So, this is really about using like what we talked about at the beginning of these terms like underserved or marginalized or like using this kind of like vague sanitized language to fix injustice, which it doesn't. To me, I think it hides it. So specifically to talk a lot about my career, I've done a lot of fundraising for nonprofit organizations and activists over the past like decade or so. And so because I do fundraising, I write a lot of grants. So language and how I use language is critical to the work that I do. And so for me, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I've raised millions and millions and millions of dollars for these people that I'm
Yes.
really inspired by and proud of.
Yes.
So I think one good example that happened to me this year that really like set my wheels turning in this conversation, because when I'm writing to a foundation, for example, you need at currently the way that the United States society is set up, it is based on money. You need rich people to believe in your mission in order for you to get somewhere most of the time. Like that's the easiest way is if people fund your work. So when you're writing to a foundation, you're writing to a rich person who wants to give their money. You have to explain what the problem is and what you're going to do about it. And one thing that I always see is that people sanitize themselves in order to like sound good on these papers. But at the end of the day, what I'm looking at when I write grants is this is an opportunity for activism for someone who is not living the same life that I'm living, that we're living. They don't really know what's going on, but at least you have, this benevolent rich person who cares at least a little bit. And you could tell them the truth about what's happening. So for me, I would use words, instead of saying underserved, I would say low income. Or there was one phrase that I would use where I would be like, these people are doing X, Y, and Z, and yet they remain poor. Pause for effect. So I got in a lot of trouble for that, actually, where someone who was on the team that I was writing for was just like, well, you can't say poor. And I was like, why? And she was like, well, no, you say like underserved or like they receive a low income. And I was just like, okay, I hear where you're coming from and I appreciate what you're saying or what you're trying to say. But for me, as a person who has been poor, if you called me something else, I was still poor. So I like was really annoyed by that. And I'm like, and if everyone were all writing to these foundations for different things, you're writing about water conservation, I'm writing about education or foster care children or whatever. I'm writing about whoever I'm writing about. We all use the term underserved. Now the person that's giving the money thinks all of these things are the same thing. They have no idea what's going on.
Right. You've lost nuance.
Literally. And I think that's so annoying. Like, I feel like even saying things like, I see this all of the time because a lot of my work was for youth services for a long time.
Yeah.
And people would always say at-risk youth. And I'm like, well, what if you said Black kids living in neighborhoods that are over-policed? That's truer, and it names why that's happening and what's happening. They're not at risk of what?
Yeah. Right.
Like, we're not saying what the problem is, what they're experiencing. We then, because we were vague about what the problem is, we can't really clearly talk about what we're going to do to fix it.
Yeah.
And these people are unrepresented. Like, they're not at risk because they're Black and they live in the city. They're unrepresented, or they're at risk because they're put in risky situations on purpose. And we need to say that. And we need to say who's doing it and what we're going to do to stop it.
Yeah.
And to me, I think that is like the most powerful thing you can do. Obviously, I think like my rule of thumb for words like this is like, don't say something that you wouldn't say to someone's face. But
Yes.
even that can be flawed sometimes because I mean, I grew up with a lot of people who like will be like, well, yeah, well, you're black. And I'm like, you can say that at full volume. That's
Yeah.
okay.
I
You're
am
not
black. Like, what do you fucking mean? Like,
right.
I,
Like,
yeah,
I will believe more that you are down for the cause if you can talk about it openly.
yes,
And
totally.
right.
Yeah.
Like,
This is so good. And I want to synthesize like a couple of the things that you said because there are some really important themes here. And I think one of those is that, okay, from the outside looking in, it might seem like, oh, we're trying to be politically correct and not offend anyone. But actually, I don't think that's the case. I think we're trying to sanitize what's happening, and it makes us more comfortable to not engage with what's actually happening. So it's much easier for me to say at risk youth than naming the problem. It's the same
right.
thing we talked about in the cancel culture stuff. Like it actually just benefits the people who get to kind of go, oh, don't look at me. Don't look at me with that. Like, look at that person. Look at that. Oh, that's wrong. Oh my God, you can't say poor. How dare you? Like,
Right.
it's the same kind of thing. Like, I think, there's some terms that bump for me, like people experiencing homelessness. Okay,
Hmm.
I understand why, but it does not help them. They remain homeless. So is that actually improving anything to say
No,
houseless
totally.
rather than homeless? Like fucking no. No. So like let's all calm down a little bit about this and go back to I think what you said is great. Like would you say it to somebody's face? And again, like
And if you wouldn't, why?
why
Is it
exactly?
for them or is it for you? And I think people should unpack that a little bit.
A
Because for
hundred
me,
percent.
I'm like, we're talking about these things as a black gay woman who has experienced being poor and experienced homelessness. I would never, I say those things because they're true. And I know
Yes.
that to them to be true. I don't need to avoid them because I already experienced them. So talking about it is like, whatever. But
Yeah.
for other people, I'm like, you can't even say it. I can't even trust you to like take this forward because we can't even talk about it honestly.
Yeah.
And that's annoying. And I
Totally.
think, okay, also, I just want to do a sidebar here. This isn't about shaming people. If you're listening to this and you feel called out, I mean, good. I'm glad. I'm glad that that's happening. But I also like that's not about shame. It's just I feel like this is the kind of the way that the culture has shifted and we're all kind
Yeah.
of doing it. And I don't want it to happen because we are removing ourselves from this problem when I think to me, and this is what we keep coming to at every episode, is like we all need to acknowledge these as if these things are happening to all of us all of the time because they
Yeah.
are. And
Yeah.
they you are, one medical emergency away from being in the same position as a lot of these other people. You're not that
Yeah.
far away. And we should get comfortable with talking about the truth about what's happening. And I think it's the only thing, like honesty will take us forward and we should be able to
Yes.
talk about it.
Absolutely. And sometimes the truth is uncomfortable and it's uncomfortable to engage with,
Yeah,
but I would say that is a priority and that should be a
definitely.
priority because if we're not acting and speaking with a prioritization of truth, then we're going to miss the point always,
Hmm.
every time. And we're going to miss the mark and we're going to not do right by the people that we're trying to talk about. And
Yeah.
I've seen people do this, well intentioned. I've seen people criticize this well intentioned, and I've seen the opposite of both. I've seen like, oh, we're just going to use this as an excuse to like rip people to shreds because they're being so PC about it. Like,
Right.
oh, okay, like let's again, I think if we can all agree if you care about something, like just be the most truthful about it and look at your intention. Again, I always go back to intention. Like, you know, if you are intending to say something offensive, like, the I think black versus African American is a great like thing to say because and I personally stopped saying African American because I knew Haitian people and I was like, well,
Exactly.
they're not African American or like and I remember being in like middle school and being like, what do we like African English if they live in London?
Literally, no,
Like
I
what?
remember seeing a thing about this online of like a British person being called African American, and they were like, "What?"
No, that's nope. And I've seen it also, interestingly enough, I feel like among Asian countries, like it's more like people are willing to just say Asian and not get any more specific. Like I always think it's nice to get more specific if you have an actual purpose for calling something out and saying like, or just naming something and being like, oh, my friend's Vietnamese, like not just, oh,
Right.
my friend's Asian, which is clearly just kind of a reference to nothing. But you could say,
Right.
oh, my friend's Asian. I don't remember exactly where her family's from, but like, well intentioned. I don't know what it is, and I'm sure that certain listeners and many other people could shine some light on this for me. But I remember just even growing up watching like 30 Rock, there was an episode that like somebody called Selma Hayek actually a Puerto Rican, and they were like, you can't say that. And they were like, yo, yeah, that sounds wrong coming off. And like, she's Puerto Rican. Like,
Right.
you can't. Now, again, are you saying it with hate in your heart? Are you saying it with a superiority complex? Because if so, anything you say is going to suck. But
Yeah.
like, call people, just it's okay to, I'm not saying call people Mexican. Like, don't, I
Well, I
think
mean,
it's
you
weird to
can though,
call them by
because
their, yeah,
whether you have good intentions or not, I'm still blacks. Whatever, no matter what
right.
tone you say it, and it's still true. So I
You're
don't
black,
care.
I'm white, I'm Italian, like I'm Scottish. But like, I think when I say call me that, like, I think it would be weird to go, Lisa, you're black,
Yeah,
period. But like,
but it'll be true.
it's true. But like, what's your intention? And it's okay to talk about. It's good to talk
Well,
about.
this is what I hope, that if this podcast has anything, that people will start getting comfortable with doing this. Like, just
Yeah.
engage hard in
Yeah.
these conversations with people and get checked and be
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
thank you for telling me that.
Thank you. Yeah.
I did my best. I will not do that anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
curious. I brought up a couple of words like poor or low income or, at risk youth or, all these different ways you could talk about things. Are there any social justice-y words that feel more like branding to you than like actual useful terms?
Yes.
I already said mine, which is BIPOC. I can't stand BIPOC.
Yeah.
As soon as it happened, it irritated me. I'm like, what is this for? And it was like,
I
well, this is what all the activists are using. I'm like, all of them? Did you ask all of them? I don't think that you did. But also, it like comes up like even for like Juneteenth, it's like happy Juneteenth to all BIPOC people. And I'm like, this is specifically about Black people. Like, stop saying BIPOC. This doesn't make sense. And I feel like it makes people feel comfortable to say it, so they use it often. And I'm like, be specific. What are you talking about? If this is a thing that's just like about non-white people, then I guess you could say BIPOC. But there's just no reason for it. I feel like it annoys me so much.
I completely agree. The lack of specificity is again what rubs me the wrong way. Like I just when yeah, okay, like if I'm talking about non-white people, I'll usually say non-white people.
Right, because I think saying BIPOC means that it's like white people get a category and then all of us are in the other category.
Right, exactly.
No.
Which is so weird. And also why like Black, indigenous people of color, like for one, some indigenous people all over the world are white.
Right.
Like indigenous people
It's
in like
confusing.
the Netherlands and stuff are white. I don't know what to tell you. Like it's, and I think I'm thinking specifically like Sweden. What are those areas called? The Nordic countries? Yeah, the Nordic countries. But like I just be specific, and I think it's okay even just like talking about people of color. I don't think that's awful, but BIPOC just feels very
Really like everyone got shoved together.
palatable. Yeah. Like
Or like
they
everyone was like,
wanted
oh,
to-
this is from an activist. I can say this all the time. And instead of like thinking, which is part of this larger conversation of like people
Yeah.
aren't thinking that hard about like how they're
Yeah.
engaging.
Yeah. And people instead, like, I just, again, it's like, understand what you're trying to say. If you're trying to talk about Black Americans, talk about Black Americans. Don't just
Yeah.
say like, like Black, you know, individuals of African descent. Like, you know, it's, you can just say what you mean and have it be okay without
Right.
like trying to fit it into what someone has deemed okay. And like, I think we fall back on things like BIPOC because we're scared and, you know, we don't,
Yes.
and it's like, this is pre approved. Okay. I'll
Yeah.
say that.
You
Oops.
know, this is like a conversation I just had the other day about, yeah, BIPOC is so interesting because if you're saying BIPOC and specifically talking about like Americans for some
Mhm.
reason, I did a thumbs up.
Yeah,
Um,
your thumbs down just came up. That was actually really funny.
oh,
Go
really?
on.
That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so funny because like the cultural differences are so extreme. And then even like if you were just talking about Black people are different all over the world. I was just saying this, that in the US, especially on the East Coast where I'm from, you walk around Brooklyn, you walk around Philadelphia, I see a Black person, I'm going to acknowledge that Black person. We will
Hmm.
do a head nod. I will say hello. If it's an older person, I will say good morning every time. When I'm in Mexico, I will be walking on the street and I'll do that and they don't respond. And I'm like, because there's Black people from all over the world here.
Yeah.
They're not just from the US. So we don't
Yeah.
share this cultural thing. And it's like, we are still Black, but we are not
Yeah.
reading the same book
Yeah.
or in the same
Right.
language if we
Right.
are.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that brings up a good point too. Like, all people are different people.
Yeah.
And that is an important point. I remember actually, you know, one of the things that comes to mind, and this doesn't really answer your question, but I have heard criticism of the term Latinx. And
Mm,
listen, again, I don't know what it is for whatever reason with like Latin America. People are very uncomfortable talking about it, and then we get slapped with like Hispanic, which is not what that means. Like
right.
Hispanic, which is again
Hispanic and
derivative
Latino are
of the
different words. Yeah.
colonial like
Yeah.
roots. It's very odd. So like I just again try to be as specific as
But
possible when
that's
I
why
can be.
being specific in these conversations are
Yeah.
important because like Hispanic, Latino, I never thought any different about those two things as I was growing up. But then as I get older and then we added like Latinx into the mix
Yeah.
and I want to engage in that conversation always
Mhm.
because I am not Hispanic or
Yeah.
Latinx. So I'm like, I want to know, what do you think? Why does that work for you? Why doesn't it? And I
Yeah.
will just keep updating my mental process about this
Yeah.
based on the feedback that I'm getting because
Yeah.
I want to say not what is correct in the world because the world is not correct. We
Yeah.
can just keep practicing and keep trying and keep having this conversation because we are the people that need to figure out which
Yes.
word is correct.
Yes.
And we didn't figure it out yet. So we have to keep saying it. And everyone has to keep being wrong in order for us to decide what is
Yeah.
right for us.
And again, like all people are different people. Latinx, so, like I have heard, I had an Argentinian friend who was like, it's so offensive to butcher it like that. I was like, what, to put an X? Like to just be non-gendered? And she was like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. Like I'm trying to really genuinely encompass all people there. And I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but with languages like Spanish and French, where everything is fucking gendered, give me a better word. Give me a better
Yeah.
word, friend. Like
I
I
mean,
just,
yeah, I had the same conversations, but it's
yeah,
like, yeah, these are made by queer Latinx people. So if they want to be called Latinx, they will be called Latinx by me.
and that's fine.
If we're
Same.
speaking Spanish and they want to be called Latine, they will be called Latine by me.
Yeah.
And it's not hard to change it based on people's preferences. But what
Yeah.
I'm not going to do is be like, oh, you and your straight heteronormative family don't like this gender inclusive word. That's not my problem.
Yeah.
I'm not speaking for, my goal is not to speak for you guys
Yep.
anyway. So
Yep.
it's fine.
I agree. And I think now's a good time to point out too, most of the policing that's happening here is not from the actual communities. You said this earlier, like when you were poor and you were not going around and being like, that's so mean. Why would you call me that? Like,
I'm not poor. My mom receives a low income.
yeah,
That's my
please
biggest problem. Please
check
change how you talk
yourself.
about that.
Yeah, that's the problem, right?
Yeah.
Um, it's so funny to me that like it's not usually coming from within the community, and then when the community does say something, it's like, oh, straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
Like we've heard it from all ends, so it's like just don't police other people's stuff. Like,
Right. We could just engage.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, speaking of engaging,
Yeah.
this brings me to my other thing that we mentioned at the beginning about virtue signaling. And I think this is where a lot of this comes from. I do respect that people want to do the right thing and want to be known as people who do the right thing. But like I just said, that's impossible right now because we haven't established the right thing yet. So, like I said, you have to kind of do it wrong in order to get it right and be willing to experience or give feedback. So, yeah, this is one thing I see on social media all the time lately that really, really bothers me. Actually, I've crashed out about this like 50 times this year. And this is really people who repost without adding anything to it. It really annoys me. It doesn't feel like impact. It feels like performance every time.
Yeah.
Like, I know this started in like 2020 during Black Lives Matter. I was like, oh, finally, white people are listening. I have stuff to say. I've been writing and researching about this for many years. I like made infographics. I was like, here's what you do. Here's what this means. Here's what happens next. And that was fun for me. But then it kind of dropped off and it really bothered me that everyone like stopped engaging. And then we kind of saw this again with like all of the things happening with like Palestine and Israel, and people just started reposting things, which hilariously most often from the New York Times, which doesn't make any sense to me, where it like a headline signals liberalism. They probably didn't read the article because it most likely the article did not follow that headline.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just like this catchy headline that like, you think is telling all of your followers where you stand, but it doesn't because you didn't say anything. And then we have 20 people who posted the same article.
Yep.
And that really annoys me. And I get this instinct to just like do something in the face of like a global crisis. You feel powerless and you're just like, I'll just repost. I'll do this hashtag. I'll, change my profile picture. But is that, I mean, it might be helpful. I haven't seen evidence of that yet, but it's just like, to me, I'm like, are you informing anyone? Are you building community with the people that follow you? You're posting it for them, but are you bringing them in? Are you engaging in conversation about it?
Yep.
Or is this just to look good? And if it is just to look good, I'm not going to say that you're wrong for that, but it's just like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. What's it giving you aside from a sense of moral superiority, I guess? Or like, maybe it's not even superiority. Maybe it's just meeting what you deem the moral baseline. Like, this is what the baseline for me to be acceptable is, because God forbid I say nothing, then people are going to think I'm a dick, and I don't know how you feel about that. I don't feel like if you don't say something on social media about something happening, I don't think that means anything. I just think it means you didn't say something on social media. Like,
No, I
maybe
think
you're
that's
having
totally fair.
really robust conversations elsewhere, or maybe you're not, or maybe you skipped one, or maybe like, who cares? Like, I would rather see meaningful engagement or no engagement, I think.
Yes. I totally agree. I think for me, I think about this all the time. And it actually, I mean, I know that this is how most people must be feeling because I felt it. I've been engaged in activism since I was a teenager.
Yeah.
And I don't think that my social media is activism. When I post on my social media, it's because I'm like, yeah, you people chose to follow me. So I'm going to tell you what I think about this. I'm going to give a hot take. I'm going to do a think piece on my Instagram story because I want to say to you guys, because you'll respond to me, maybe, and we can talk about it, or you'll like it, or you'll validate how I'm feeling. That isn't activism to me. To me, that is like me engaging with this community that I've built up online.
Yeah.
And I want to say how I feel about this. Like, I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to post a selfie. And then I also am really mad about this. So I want to say this and see what people think. The activism that I do is not online, and I'm likely not going to post about it online because online is kind of dangerous and it's owned by Mark Zuckerberg. So I don't really need to bear it all on my Instagram.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that if I feel this way sometimes where I'm like, oh, they probably don't think they're people, I need to say something. People need me to
Yeah.
say something. I'm like, no, they don't.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I always try to stop that whenever I have that feeling. I'm like, is it because you feel pressured to say something or do you
Yeah.
have something to say?
Yeah.
And the second one is when I post. And the first one, I'll write a draft and then delete it.
Yeah. Good for you. I think that's really important. And, I do notice this predominantly in liberal circles. I think it's like one of these kind of, again, where social justice gets lumped in with, liberal values, which, like, no, it's not just for the liberals. Like, stop. And you virtue signaling or being sanctimonious about your liberal values, like, good Lord, no, 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 no. That's just not doing anything for anyone except this false idea in your head that you have to, you know, say something.
Literally. Also, liberal values is an oxymoron.
Yes, it is.
So I think it's just like, yeah, there's just like this thing where I think people see a headline that sounds like it aligns with their values, but they aren't looking into what it means. And then instead, people are posting propaganda and not
Yes,
noticing that they're doing it. And it's like,
totally.
what would be better than this article written by someone you don't know about an article you didn't read is just say what you thought. Are
Yeah.
you mad? Like I saw this one girl, she posted on her Instagram the other day and she was like, I don't know what to do. I've been in a meltdown for months. I think I just need to be honest and just say I'm not doing well and I'm overwhelmed all of the time and it's hard to
Yeah.
do all of this. And like, I was like, thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
saying that. Like that is, yeah, we don't need to be being like, yes, see, this New York Times article perfectly got my opinions. No, it didn't.
Yeah. Stop.
You're a person. You're not a billionaire backed media
Yeah.
publication. Like you have opinions. You can just say them because I feel like your voice, even with your, 300 followers matters more than these regurgitated graphics. Like it is, you are here. You are the
Yeah.
person that is impacted. You are the person that impacts other people. What do you have to say? We could all
Totally.
subscribe to the New York Times if we wanted to. You shouldn't, but we could if we
Yeah.
wanted to.
We could if we wanted to, and we don't. Um, I I find it very frustrating when we limit ourselves into just those kinds of things. Like, oh, I'm just going to share this again just for a quick like check in on my values. It's virtue signaling. That's all it is. And
It's social
in
media.
yeah, it's social media theater, definitely. And I would love to, and obviously I say this as a person with no Instagram account,
You
but
do have a
I would
podcast.
love, yeah, I do use Often Wrongs or Carrot Impacts. I still don't know which one I'm logged into because I can't figure it out on my desktop, but that's neither here nor there. So I do feel like we could also make it more engaging. Do you want to ask a question? What do you want out of this? Like, hey, I'm feeling, a little confused about, how we're talking about this. Like, would love people's thoughts, would love, to engage, or this is my take, and
What do
let
you
me
think?
know. Am I wrong? And again, just,
Or, yeah.
yeah,
No, even better. There's also a couple people that I follow that I think are real, authentic rock stars on social media.
yeah,
And these are just friends of mine.
yeah,
And they'll post things like, hey, I'm doing this thing. If you want to Venmo me, I'm sending like phones to these people, or I'm organizing this thing,
yeah,
or I'm making this like thing for this like mother who lost her children in my neighborhood. Like there's just like things, there's like actionable things that like people
yeah,
want that. People want to engage in conversation. People want to feel that they
yeah,
are not alone in how they feel. They want to know what to do next. So if you're just reposting all the time and it's just like doom,
mm-hmm,
then I think the only response is like, well, what now? Like, is this
yeah,
over? Do I still need to pay rent? Like, is it done? Like, I don't know what to do next. And I'm just
yeah,
like, this is ours. It
yeah,
really removes us from the picture. And it's like, no, this
yeah,
isn't about major media. This isn't about the government. This is about us. And
yeah,
we can do stuff together if
yes,
we engage with each other, which is what social media is supposed to be for
absolutely,
me.
yeah.
Maybe Mark doesn't think that, but I think
Yeah, I agree. And I think, again, we've lost discourse, and that's what we're trying to bring back. And
Yes.
having real dialogue versus participating in this, show, like this little front. I would just so encourage you. And then, if you're like, well, I don't want to do any of that, then maybe ask yourself, okay, why do I have social media then? And if it's just to see friends' life updates or post cute pictures of your kids, human or otherwise, like, great. Okay.
Cool.
Like, know your limits, and like I realized when I did have Instagram, which I did have 1,200 followers in
Oh,
my heyday. So
influencer, my influencer.
yeah, I was a big deal, Lisa. I wasn't going to bring it up, but just in case all of them are listening to this, I just want to,
They better be.
yeah, I'm sure they are. But my bio was like, welcome to my highlight reel, because I was like, I'm not putting any real shit on here. Like, I'm going through it, man. I'm going to just post shit that looks like I'm having a good time, because that's how I want to represent myself on the internet. I don't need to air out
Yeah.
my shit. And then it got to a point where I was like, wow, this doesn't feel right. And I haven't posted in a year, and I'm going to go away now. And
Yeah.
it's not
It's
making
so
me feel
funny.
good.
It's so funny us together then because I'm the opposite. My social media, obviously, I want to post pictures where I look really cute
Yeah.
and I want to post all the good moments because I like to, when I'm sad, I scroll through my Instagram and I'm like, oh, look at her. I
I
love her.
know. She's
So
cute.
that's fun for me. But I
Yeah.
also share, like, if I have like a hot take or I'm like mad about something or if I have like a dumb thought, I like put it on my social media because I think it's funny. And people be
Yeah.
like, oh my God, you're so out of pocket on social media. And I'm like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you be? What is this
Yeah.
for? Who cares?
Yeah.
And
I
even, yeah, it makes me think of like back on the early days of Twitter when people would put in their bio, like, all thoughts are my own. Duh.
yeah. Duh. I think people still do that.
Yeah. So, like,
I'm
what
like
else would this be?
honestly positive. Like, these are not a reflection of my role at blah 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 institute. Like, okay. All
Yeah,
right.
because even if you
Calm
put that,
down.
you can still get fired if you say something crazy. So,
Yeah, because also, like, again, you can be like funny and out of pocket, but like there's a difference between that and like going like losing your shit on
yeah,
people
being a bad
or
person
being a bad person. Yeah, there's
in print.
always a little bit different. Yeah, like think about it. Would you publish an op-ed about it?
Yeah.
No. Oh, then maybe don't. But like,
Are you literally willing to die on this hill?
yeah,
If so, go for it. Yeah.
great, great. Because you might get fired for it. So
Yeah.
let's chat about that. But
Okay. That is exactly the thing though. I think this is like the sanitized language, the reposting, the regurgitation comes from the same premise as this podcast, which
mm,
is about a fear of being wrong, which I feel that I have really loosed myself from over the
yeah,
past however
yeah,
many episodes we have.
yeah. I
I
mean,
feel like, yeah, just like this fear of imperfection really keeps people out of conversations. And that to me is a bigger threat to justice than being wrong
yeah,
and saying the wrong thing or your friend being mad at you because you didn't capitalize black.
yeah, yeah. Exactly. I think it's. I don't know. I again, we said this in the first episode. Like, think about what we're losing by ignoring this and by you succumbing to your fear. And I don't mean you to whoever's listening to this, I mean
Yeah.
the broad you or us. I'll say us. What we're losing by, saying, oh, I'm scared I don't want to come off like too woke and I don't want to come off not woke enough. So I'm just going to not say what I actually think and I'm going to water it down. Like, what are we losing here? We're losing a
Mm-hmm.
lot. We're losing the chance to engage meaningfully and truthfully with each other.
Yes.
And that is a big loss. It's a big loss, especially when so much of our communication now is done online and via social media. And
Yes.
we're not even approaching it from a place of truth. And we're not even trying to do that. That's that's a real problem to me. And it's again feeding, I think, this larger beast of, you know, oh shit, like what are we actually trying to say here? What are we actually trying to do here? I think that's a real concern.
Okay, one thing I noticed with my very well-intentioned friends that are like trying to, engage without really engaging, they post a lot. And I've actually seen a lot of them. You post a lot and then it's like they're having a great day. They're at like their best friend's wedding or something and they post a
Yeah.
picture. And then I'll see another post after that that's like, I'll get back to my social justice content tomorrow. And I'm like, babe, you don't have to do that. You can live your life. You know what social justice is for? So that we can live our lives. Like you can keep going. It's
Yes.
okay. You do not have to become like a political mouthpiece now because everything
Yeah.
is unjust and fucked up. It has always been that way.
Yep.
And you had a good birthday party before and you can do it again.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that's a huge piece of this, like feeling that guilt of, I mean, I remember certain things, and look, there are moments where things are really tone deaf and it's like, don't post that, especially if you're like a celebrity. Don't, if something major happens and something tragic is happening, just stay off it,
Yeah,
stay
hold it
away,
for a little bit.
like do not, if you're not somebody who engages on this stuff, just pause just a minute,
Mm-hmm.
okay? But like, people are still gonna have babies, they're still gonna get married, they're still gonna have a really great hair day, like that should not go uninstagrammed if that's what you want to do. But again, like it's this falsehood of individual responsibility. Like you
Yes.
posting about something is for you mostly, not for the good of the people that you're posting about usually. And
Yes.
yeah, I don't know. I think it's really silly that
You know
we
what?
yeah,
Also, I feel like at this point, because this is something I forget, like being out of the country, I forget kind of how messed up everybody is right now. And
yeah,
I think, and I'm not sure if it's because I'm outside of the country or if it's because I have been being destroyed by the truth of the situation for many years. And I'm
yeah,
like comfortable with it in a way now.
yeah.
I can't really tell.
You have
But
nothing left to be
yeah,
disillusioned by.
no tears left to cry,
It's
as it
all
were.
gone.
But I'm also like realizing if everyone's social media just becomes us posting about the problems of the world, there's nothing to fight for. Like, what if, like, we get to see your baby's birthday party, or like you look pretty today, or like you went on a great date and you want to tell us about it? That's what it's for, so that we are trying to get this right, so that you can live and I can be happy when I see that you just gave birth. Like, that's cool.
Yes.
Like, we need all of the things at the same time. And all of these things, to me, honestly, at this point that I've integrated social justice as just like my way of being, all of it is social justice. You deserve to live freely.
Yes.
That's the point.
That's the point. That's the point. And oh my God, we have nothing to fight for if you just talk about the problems. That is so fucking true. That's one of those mic drop moments for you that I'm trying not to just harp on and not say anything intelligent to and just be like, Lisa, that was so good, but that was so good.
No, I'm so glad that I thought of
No,
that
it's
right now.
true. Like,
It's true.
I
I
mean, it's
need to see
true.
it. People want to
We
see it.
we and again, like what is life about if we're just going to focus on the negative, the problems, the things that are, eating away at it? No, it is, the point is to live. The point is to live freely. The point is to
Yes.
live honestly, live truthfully to yourself. And that's really beautiful, and it's very sad when we limit ourselves to doing
Totally.
that.
And this is also the thing right now, because obviously the internet is overrun by bots. And you can tell that they're a bot because they don't post about anything except inflammatory comments. So if that, think about your profile as like a bot profile. Do you have a life? Do you have something that you care about? Are you loved in some way? Okay, now I'm more likely to take your position in good faith because you are a
Yes,
person who is living. And
totally.
yeah, and I just feel like people being silent, or being silent for whatever reason, just slows our progress when we are people who are engaged in this life together, whether we want to be or not. Um, and we just need to talk, and we need to be
Yes.
wrong. We need to
Yes.
be wrong with each other over and over and over again.
100%. And I think that is that beautiful, messy kind of way of relating to one another that makes us human. It makes us human. It makes us not bots. It makes us not, products of ChatGPT or, whatever this culture is that you're trying to assimilate to. Like,
Yeah.
the beauty is in the mess. It's the engagement. It's the relationship. It's how you're dealing with your own mess and how you're supporting people with theirs. Like, it, instead of leaning away from that and leaning towards this false sense of safety within correctness or performative correctness, whatever you feel like is going to give you some shelter, it's not. Get stronger and lean into the messy side of things. Lean
I
into
totally
that.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what I see instead is people who are, and I dealt with this a long time as far as like grant writing and engaging kind of like in an academic way about social justice issues. Now it's like played out into real life. And it's so funny because these people who are posting a ton, well-intentioned on their social media, they don't talk like that in real life. And your stuff should sound like you. Who are you? What do you think? How do you feel? And why? Because I think too many people are trying to sound like data scientists or, academics and activists, or like you scored a perfect score on the English part of the SAT. I don't know if it's still split up that way, but like you don't need to. It's not important. If social justice is only determined by academics, we are fucked.
We're fucked. Yeah. Amen. We're fucked. Like, again, there is a time and a place for specificity. And I would argue that is in policy development. Like,
but that should also be based on the voices of people.
Exactly. It should
and then
reflect
turned
the needs
into
of the
policy
people.
language.
Exactly. But also, like, when you're talking about complex economic things, I do not believe that, then this is a little bit of a tangent, but like most politicians are not qualified to weigh in on economics because macro and micro economics is like a very specific and like advanced field. And we need people who can bridge the gaps between the academics, the people who do understand all the numbers, and then also the people. We want the people to be represented in that. So like, again, that's how I think it should be happening. And I think that would be really nice if we had a nice representative body that was also experts at what they were doing. But that's not you. That's okay.
It doesn't have to be you. It can be you if that's what you want, but
and again, lead with, I might be wrong about this, but this is what my take is. Like, I might be wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, who cares?
And I'm okay if I'm wrong, but this is my experience. Or just talk about how you feel. Like, that's valid. Nobody can take away your feelings. They can say, "Oh man, yeah, I see the fear there. This is how I think about it." But yeah, I understand what you're saying. Like,
no, this is why I used to love. I don't use Twitter anymore. I will never call it X. FYI.
Ever. No.
I used to love Twitter so much because someone would post a take, and I would be like, "Oh my god, so true." And then I'll click on the comments, and the first like 5 were wildly different, and I would be like, "Good point, actually." No, you're right. And like I would learn so much from like, it was so fun for me it was very stimulating. And then it just became arguments. And I was like, oh, this is stupid now. And I don't want to be a part of this because I want to think better. I want to like have better things to lean on in my mind.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, there's just so many things. And like now I feel like all of these things are weaponized. Like how people use data can always be manipulated. It can always be used against you. And you might say like, oh, well, 90% of people feel this way. And it's like, how was the question asked? And who did it get asked to? Like, you should always, data is not the answer. Like it can be useful while you get to an answer, but it isn't the answer. And so there's just so many things that are wrong about this. And you might say this with all the best words possible and still be dead wrong.
Yeah.
And I think people need to realize that.
Yeah. Yep. And I think the other thing is, you mentioned earlier, like, we don't know what right is for that. Maybe the point is that we're never going to know what right is because right doesn't exist, actually. Mm-hmm. It's just how we're relating to it. It's just how we're circling around it. And it's also accepting the fact that we evolve, language evolves, like how we talk and communicate evolves, but like centering our values in those new ways of doing things is what matters, because it's always going to change. And the people who are scared of that and who are trying to resist the change or prevent, other people from changing, okay, but like it's going to happen anyways. So like let's, like I could go on an anti-social media tirade, but what would that do? No one, that's not going to do any good. So like I'm just encouraging you to be truthful on social media and, not fall into this trap. But to me, it's like we're not, there's not one truth. There's not one truth that we're after. That doesn't exist. There's not one right way that we're after. That doesn't exist. Your truth exists and it can also change, but we're moving towards it and we're moving around it in a way that honors, our intention to be, respectful or kind or inquisitive or, whatever that looks like. I think that's the point.
I think so too. And yeah, I would only add, because you were talking about centering values, and I'm like, maybe just centering people, because values is also really hard to kind of pin down, because that changes all the time. I know that my politics have always been, I always say this for decades now, doing the most good for the most amount of people is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And what I think should be progressed all the time. Yeah. But I said doing the most good for the most amount of people, that most good thing might be a bunch of little things for different people at different times. Yeah. And it's not one answer. It's not a sweeping legislation. We're not 5 policies away from being on the right track. Like this really has to be about us as human beings and what human beings deserve, which is life. And that's really complicated, and I don't have to agree with you. You might live your life in a way that it never occurred to me, and I need to sit with that a little bit. But unless you're causing harm to someone else by doing that, I want to see you get that. I want to see you win. That's cool. Like you should do that.
I love that. And actually when I said values, that's kind of what I was thinking. Like, do you center people? Do you value life? Do you value, honesty? Do you value, like the bigger stuff? I remember one time I was like, what are my values? Oh, good God. And I Googled a list and it was like, pick 3. And I was like, oh, okay, I can pick integrity. I can pick like kindness. And I don't remember the other one that I picked. It was something, maybe like loyalty, but like those are the big picture, like value things. But yes, center people. I love that. Yeah. I love that.
I think that's so nice. Because and it really just comes down to, as long as you're not causing harm to other people, like honestly, if in your mind, you're like, I really don't like Black people, you're not doing anything to Black people. It's just only in your mind. Cool. Live your life. Leave me alone. But think whatever you want. Have whatever values you need. Like set up your life in a way that does that. As long as you don't bother me. Like leave me alone.
Yeah.
I'm happy for you. If that's how you feel, cool. Just leave me out of it.
Oh, that's
theory only.
That's great.
Find a way to make your values internal.
Keep that shit to yourself.
Yeah.
That's all we have to say.
I'm not saying you have to change. Just leave me alone.
Oh, that's really funny. Yeah. And it is funny though, because I feel like the vast majority of people, by which I mean over 60% of people, genuinely love others and like don't have, again, we're all subjected to bias. That's different, but like have a love for people and a respect for people. And those folks are oftentimes too scared to engage because they don't want it to come out wrong. But like they are not actually at risk of being interpersonally racist and mean and disrespectful and like gross, but they don't engage because they're scared.
Yeah.
They might use the right term or the wrong term.
What? I think there's also a lot of people who don't want to see it. And like, I think about like a lot of my friends' moms or something
Yeah.
where they're just like, well, you don't talk about politics at the dinner table, and Facebook isn't the dinner table. Like, don't say
Yeah.
any of this.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's interesting too. I hope if you listen to this podcast, share it with someone like that. I want someone like that to be involved because I'm just like, no, you too.
Yes.
The way that you want to have dinner with your cousins, that matters. That's social
Yes.
justice. All of this matters. Like who
Yes.
you are and how you live in the world. This isn't politics. I mean, it is politics, but politics is everything.
Yeah.
And we decide. So I just think that's interesting too. Of there's like, you're afraid to be wrong. You're afraid to, you're afraid to say the wrong thing. You're afraid to say anything at all. You're afraid to look at it because it's going to be too sad and it's going to overtake you, which it might.
Yeah.
But just like, just reminding everyone that like, this is in a way about what the government does, but it is more so about what we do and what we can do together. And I'm really excited for people to know that. It makes it more fun for the people who already do.
Yep. I agree. I think that's great.
So I didn't say this at the beginning of this episode, but I should have because this is a big one. I really, really want to hear what everyone thinks about this topic. How do you feel when you're posting? Do you feel like, what's that fear about? Are you, what are you saying? Because not tomorrow, next week, we have an episode about what we got wrong. And then at the end of the season, we have a big what we got wrong. So I really want to take in your thoughts. You can leave your comments in the platform that you're listening on. You can also leave a comment at carrotimpact.com/oftenwrong and at our Instagram, which is at oftenwrongpod.
Yes.
So we're not experts. We're probably wrong sometimes. You're probably wrong sometimes. But if we care about justice, we just have to keep showing up with each other. And that's what this is for. We really want to engage with you. We want to talk about things. We want to reframe maybe how we're looking at some of these big picture things, take away the overwhelm, take away the what's happening to us, and remind everyone of like what you have the power to do, which is so much.
Yes. And policing people for the way they talk about something is not getting us anywhere. So like, we could
just
engage further. Yeah. Engage further. Improve your relationship to that person or that thing or that idea.
Even if the first step is just to be like, hey, stop repeating stuff to me you heard on the news.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
How does this affect your life? Tell me what's happening for you and what you want to happen. Because I bet you'll 100%. Probably agree. Usually, I feel like that happens a lot.
Totally. 100%. I completely agree.
So I feel like the takeaways from this episode are be more specific in your language. Get checked if you need to. If you're not sure if it's the right word, say it and see if someone will respond to it. Speak using your own voice. Don't just repost. Mainstream media is not really your friend.
Correct.
They should be trying to sound like you, not the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one is what we're doing here publicly in front of all of you. Don't embarrass us. Embrace being wrong. Be a part of this.
Being wrong. Yeah.
Because that sounds exciting. Anything else you think?
No, I counted 4 things though, but it's perhaps because I got confused along the way. But I think those 3 to 4 things that you said, I think round us out really nicely. So
love that.
Yeah, as always, just dig deeper, engage further, and be true to yourselves.
And if you want to practice on anyone, if you don't have anyone trusted to speak to, like I said, leave us a comment. We'll check you if you want.
Yeah, happy to.
Or we'll agree with you.
Yeah.
We'll uplift you as a social justice warrior on the pod. We'll say, look at them.
SJW Spotlight.
They killed it. Say it just like that.
Yeah. No. Good Lord. That's so good. Oh my God. Well, thanks everybody. And we're excited for the What We Got Wrong next week.
We have a lot to say, actually.
Yeah, I do as well. I'm very excited for that episode. Very excited.
Okay. Talk to you later.
Bye. Often Wrong is produced by Lisa Nwankwo, Claire Cornetta, and Joe Abdella. This episode was shot and edited by Joe Abdella. Special thanks to Michael Drummonds. Often Wrong is a Carrot Impact podcast. Go to carrotimpact.com/oftenwrong to learn more.